like I'm constantly trying to butt up against feminism and the way that the church has been feminized and male pastors are effeminate, all these sort of things. But part of it is like
Ruslan.
So you would venture off to say, which I would agree with, that what people believe about eschatology, the study of the end times, actually does determine how they behave on this side of eternity.
Absolutely. Not in a perfect sense for everyone. So I want to be clear and carve out some caveats and stuff like that. I've got a lot of solid friends who are premillennial and amillennial, but they fight like they're post-mill. But I think a big part of it is the timeline. So typically you're a premillennial guy, and I keep saying dispensational premill because technically there's historic premill guys and dispensational premill guys. The historic premill guys, that's because I want to be fair and not straw man. That's the oldest eschatological position that we know of in church history. So that goes all the way back to like Irenaeus and guys that saying Jesus is going to return relatively soon, and and things are probably going to get trending downward until he returns. The dispensational premill guys. That's a novel position. That's not until the 19th century, only about 150 years old, with the Schofield Bible and Darby, and these guys kind of coined this way of thinking. And the main difference between historic premill and disp premill is the rapture, a secret rapture. So the idea of 7 years of tribulation, and there's this pre-trib rapture or maybe mid-trib rapture, and it's going to,
and this is like left behind theology.
Left behind. If you want to, what's dispensational premillennialism? Left Behind, which Kirk Cameron, by the way, he's post-mill. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, for years he was the actor in Left Behind, and he's post-mill, man, and he's hardcore, and he lives like it. He's going to public libraries, reading books about God and stuff like that. I mean, that guy goes he goes hard for Jesus. Yeah, it's awesome.
So I tend to have a fairly, I think, diverse palette of theology, and I find all of it fascinating and interesting. But I appreciate the post-mill position. Probably because of the more pragmatic, practical side of what you're describing. And I don't think what you believe about these things really shouldn't make a difference, because even if the premillennial position is true, you should be living to honor God with your time, talent, treasure, your
because
gifts, your
obedience
service.
should be enough of an incentive.
Right. But
not results, but obedience.
Yes. So for folks who don't know about anything we're talking about, can you just give a brief description? We're talking about eschatology, which is the study of the end times, and there are three main positions called postmillennialism, premillennialism, amillennialism. Can you just give people a very brief breakdown of that, and then we can kind of go deeper, and then you're gonna close all of us on postmillennialism by the end of this podcast.
We'll see. So the easiest way that I could explain it, thinking of these three positions, a lot of times if you're a visual person, you might be thinking, all right, there's pre-mill, all-mill, post-mill. What I'm saying is that, all-mill is in the middle, and then, to the left, you start with pre-mill on one side, then you got all-mill in the middle, and then you got post-mill on the other side. But I think it's actually better to think of post-mill as the middle position, which is not really my MO, because I'm not usually thought of as Joel Webbin. He's a moderate.
Okay.
I usually am a little bit viewed as more extreme, but I really think in this case with eschatology, post-mill is the moderate position. What I mean by that is that it shares one major quality with all-mill and pre-mill.
Okay.
So the two main qualities to consider is this: the nature of the millennium and the timing of the millennium.
And the millennium is the 1,000-year literal reign of Christ.
Right, but depending on the position, it may not be viewed literally.
Okay.
So if you're all-mill, you don't think it's a literal 1,000 years.
Okay.
But you do believe that it is this it's this time period of Christ ruling and reigning.
Okay. Hey, real quick, you can watch the extended version of this podcast on Patreon. It gets a little spicy, it gets a little weird. Like, I don't want to get pearly thing. So if you want to see the entire thing, meet me over at Patreon. But here's a little preview.
But
my world is being rocked right now, Zach. I thought I was conservative, man. Are most of the women at your church not working?
So I believe that that women should wear a head covering on the Lord's Day. But it's like
so all the women in your church got this on. Does your wife wear this on Sunday?
It's like, you know what? I'm not going to apologize for slavery.
Whoa.
I'm not.
So you don't think women should vote?
No.
Why? They're treading lightly with the vote.
It sounds so intense, but I'm telling you, dude, you look back over history, you don't have to agree
That's
with
starting
me.
to sound a lot like Handmaid's Tale. Is there any other super controversial views of yours that I need to know
Oh, so I was talking
Gosh.
with a guest.
My heart's
It's okay, it's
sinking
okay.
right now. You're anti-slavery. You don't like racism.
I am anti.
Ruslan.
And by literal, I guess I just mean physical. Like Jesus comes back in a physical body and rules. Is that fair?
Well, see, and yeah, it is fair. I think that's absolutely fair. But that's kind of what I'm getting at is the timing and the nature. The nature of the millennium, that it's actually physical, what you just articulated, that Jesus is actually going to return and set up a literal kingdom here on earth. That's where post-mill and pre-mill agree.
Okay.
So when I'm talking to pre-mill guys and they're like, Jesus' kingdom is not just in the 17th dimension. It's real, it's tangible, it's physical. I mean, he's going to be ruling the nations here on earth.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to pre-mill guys like a MacArthur type talk like that. And I'm like, that's right. We agree. And then with but then in the next breath they're going to say, and it's nowhere to be seen. It's here, or I'm sorry, it's not the here not yet. It's not yet, but it will be suddenly, and probably soon, maybe next Thursday. So it's not here at all, but it will be here, and when it's here, it's going to be real. Whereas the Amill guy agrees with the post-mill guy on the timing of the kingdom. So we both believe that we're in the millennial kingdom right now. So right now, Jesus is ruling and reigning, but we disagree, post-mill and Amill, over the nature. So we agree on the timing, but we disagree on the nature. The Amill, the way, and Amill guys don't appreciate this, but I'm just trying to make it simple, and I'm trying to be a little bit funny too. So take it as tongue-in-cheek. The Amill, instead of already and not yet, the Amill guy has an already but not really mentality.
Interesting.
So it's like, it's already. He's ruling and reigning, but not really. He's ruling and reigning in the 17th dimension, ethereally,
So it's like he's ruling
spiritually,
in the spiritual sense, but not in a tangible
but not
sense.
in any real tangible sense here on earth.
Okay.
So the pre-mill guy and the post-mill guy, we agree on the nature of the kingdom.
Okay.
It's physical, it's literal, it's earthly.
Okay.
The all-mill and post-mill guy, we agree on the timing of the kingdom. It's right now. So we both agree on it's happening now. We're in the millennial kingdom. Jesus is reigning. That's all-mill and post-mill. But then in terms of the nature of the kingdom, it's post-mill and pre-mill that actually agree that it's not just a spiritual reign, but it's a reign that has real, tangible, practical effects in the physical world.
Yeah, that's good. I like the real, tangible, physical effects. And we're going to go over a lot of scripture in this stream. One of the ones that comes to me instantly is Ephesians 1, the end of Ephesians 1, where he talks about making the world Christ's footstool and all of these different things, Jesus being above every name, above every authority. So I love these verses. Now, in your response video to John MacArthur, you also tied in his view, not directly, but kind of indirectly, to this idea of Gnosticism, which I think Gnosticism is so prevalent, trying to make everything hyper spiritual, demeaning the material and the physical world as all bad. Unpack how the heresy of Gnosticism can, not does always, but can slip into some of this this eschatology.
Yeah. So first, I'll say this: John MacArthur is not a Gnostic. John MacArthur despises Gnosticism because he's a faithful Bible teacher that I would disagree on certain things, but he's a faithful Bible teacher and he despises Gnosticism in the proper sense. But the big thing that I was trying to do in that reaction video, and I keep trying to clarify this, and for people who want to understand, they appreciate the clarifications, and for people who just, they disagree and they're mad, then the clarification doesn't really matter.
Sure.
But all that being said, I'm trying to say, okay, there's a difference between pietism proper versus pietistic leaning.
Yes.
Gnosticism proper versus Gnosticistic leanings or inferences. And then the last one I used with my MacArthur reaction video was nihilism. So Gnosticism, pietism, and nihilism.
All not good.
All not good.
All not good. All not helpful for young men. All not helpful for young men. All not helpful for equipping people to do the work of the ministry, right?
I think it's disincentivizing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's more than disincentivizing because, again, obedience and eternal rewards is a pretty big incentive. Yeah. And you could argue a sufficient incentive. Yeah. And I would agree. But I think it's not just disincentivizing. A better word might be it's disheartening. It's discouraging. Yeah. I think it's discouraging. And I think young men already feel this. Boomers they grew up in a different world. Like they could actually afford to buy a house. Must be nice, right? You know, like and it's like, well, we had 17% interest rates. Yeah, on a house that cost $35,000.
Yep.
You know, like, and so, I mean, it's a different world. This idea that, you know, like I'm constantly trying to butt up against feminism and the way that the church has been feminized and male pastors are effeminate and all these different things. But part of it is like, there's some young men, you can't just say man up anymore.
Yeah.
You got to actually teach young men what to do and help provide opportunities for them to do it, because this idea of, well, I want to have kids and I want my wife to be able to be a keeper at home with the children. That costs money.
Yeah.
And it's it is objectively financially harder to be a masculine man today than it was in the 80s.
Hey, if you want to see the extended version of this podcast, completely unedited, consider partnering with us in our online community for as little as $5 a month. In exchange, you get access to these podcasts as we stream them live before anyone else gets to see them. You get access to the replay of our daily after party streams, access to our private Discord server, access to discount codes, and so much more. So help us continue contextualizing the gospel through media, podcasting, and YouTube, and partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Also, be sure to follow us on the Spotify podcast app, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We're constantly posting content there that I think you'll find extremely valuable. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.